Okay, can you hear me?
Good evening, Mr. James Mickey Makoni. How you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Caprani. Man, you remember the Mickey part. Most people don't know it.
Well, it's quite a, it's, I mean, I know that was like, no, it's quite a unusual name these days, so it's cool.
Yeah, and the fact that it's on my driver's license makes it even cooler.
Yes. You look like you're in a new place the last time I saw you. Did you build your house?
Not as yet. This is still like the same place. I believe it's wait a minute. No, wait, when did we talk last? That was like 2 years ago, I think.
Mm. Well, I can just tell by that nice new polished timber ceiling you've put in.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, so I moved. Yeah. So when we last spoke, I was still with the girlfriend who may or may not exist, but weren't married, and then we moved into this house
Yes.
shortly after I got married. So yeah,
Awesome. And you're still in Zimbabwe, right?
yeah, I'm still here.
How's the life?
Oh, ups and downs. The beauty of being in Africa.
You got your solar power system all hooked up? You're ready for the
Mm.
apocalypse?
Yep. For the most part, it's hooked up. Just a few upgrades I have to make to it.
You are a bit of a prepper, Jay, right?
That's the weird part. Like being a prepper is the norm here, where I am. Like, no, like I look at these prepper sales letters and these prepper videos of the prepper niche. Like these people call it prepping, and I am literally like, wait, so this isn't common sense. Like people don't live like this. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, like over here, most people actually keep like 5,000 to 10,000 liters of water in an external tank in case the water supply goes. Like that is common sense. And you see these prepper manuals talking about it as if it's like some kind of ninja hack.
I think it's just different expectations about the durability and reliability of state apparatus. Although that seems to be changing in the United States as well. I mean, it seems to be changing everywhere. That people are less confident that the basics of life are going to be provided for than they used to be.
Oh man, I've been reading the reports. Things are going south everywhere.
It's yeah, I don't want to get into too much into that type of topic because it unfortunately gets a little bit like you start to sound like an old man ranting at clouds pretty quick, or at least I do.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, things are we're living in weird times. Let's put it like that.
extremely weird times.
But when was the first time in your life, Jay, that you ever typed how to make money online into Google?
Hmm. I'd say, come to think of it, I never typed make money online into Google.
Hmm. Ever?
I never, ever, like, ever. I never even once considered it. It's like, I don't know how some guy bought my. I think what happened is like in 2012, I was in a lot of like pickup artists email lists.
Hmm.
And I got a ton, and I was on a ton of lists. I read lots of sales letters, VSLs and stuff. And what happened is between 2012 and 2014, 15, there was a huge exodus where lots of these dating coaches were transitioning from dating to teaching biz op
Yeah.
because it's roughly the same demographic, right? So I think one of these dating coaches sold my email address to someone, or they had a launch with someone, and I saw them doing some kind of promo, and they're promoting Annex and Gold's book, The Circle of Profit, and I just happened to see that in my junk mail one day, and I just opted into it. This was actually the original Circle of Profit launch. And I literally watched the entire 3 day launch, and I read the free ebook, and like whilst watching and going through that, I was just joining the dots in my head, like, oh, so this is how digital marketing. So this is how those dating coaches were operating. This is why they had these web pages with the same structure. Like, I kind of learned how to write a sales letter before writing one. because I spent most of my free time reading dating coach sales letters to try to pick out what the product taught without buying it. And I was in so many,
Were you
yeah.
struggling with dating at this point in your life?
Oh yeah, yeah, dude. I was the in 4chan in 4chan language, it's what people refer to as a kissless virgin. I saw, yeah, dude. Like 10 years ago, around 10 years ago, I yeah, my dating life sucked. And I was on all these email lists, and the weird thing is like some of these dating coaches, like this was before the whole red pill thing came up, and back then many of these dating coaches were more like the friendly big brothers and friendly uncles you never had.
Hmm.
Okay, and these guys didn't just teach dating; they taught masculinity. They taught like just how to be a proper man. This is before the madness of the red pill came in. That's turning everyone into a woman hating chauvinist. And so yeah, so I actually read a lot of these, and they really helped me with my self-esteem, like how to carry myself as a man and stuff. And I actually still remember the first full-blown email sequence I read. It was John Alanis's infamous 90-day sequence after you opt in. That was an epic soap opera sequence, which should be adapted into a film. Like that was incredible. And I think today it's still that sequence is still referred to today by the likes of Russell Brunson and Alan Sutenek. Like they've referred to it. They both of them refer to it. And like I just do the exercise in these emails where these guys would be like, yeah, no, just go talk to a few girls today, fix your body posture and stuff. Like I was broke back then, and in my country, credit cards weren't all that common back then, so buying things online wasn't even an option. So I had literally just like get the emails, go to whatever product was being promoted, and I download the VSL and I'd listen to it on my way to work. Cause going to work was like a 30-minute walk. So I had listened to the VSLs walking to work and coming back, and I kind of internalized the structure of these VSLs in the process. And then also I just read the sales letters trying to pick out what they're teaching and stuff. Like I didn't even know that this was direct response copy or direct response marketing. I just thought these guys were trying to sell something cool to me. And it just so happens that at the time I also got to witness Jason Capital's launch, his first launch in the men's dating space as well at the time. So now having seen all that, having been reading these sales letters, these VSOs and stuff, when I was reading Annick's book, it explained the entire system. Build an email list, drive them to a sales page, use an opt-in page to get the email addresses, promote other products. And in my mind, I was like, so this is the business that these guys have been running on me all these years. Everything just came together in an instant. And from then on, like the first thing that I actually Googled related to making money on the internet wasn't how to make money on the internet, but more like how to launch my first product on the internet, basically.
So you actually launched your own product before you got clients, or did it go the other way around?
It went the other way around because I quickly found out that if you're Zimbabwean, you can't actually have a merchant account.
Ah,
Uh,
yes.
yeah, so ClickBank, I couldn't sell anything. In fact, I can't even buy anything on ClickBank, and I can't be an affiliate either. Like my country isn't even on the list for buying, selling, or promoting. I couldn't get a merchant account or any of the sorts, but now the idea was in my head that it was possible to make money online. And then after a little snooping around, I came across this British dude called Chris Ducker, and he mentioned Gary Halbert, and I went to the Gary Halbert letter. Next thing you know, I'm studying copywriting.
It's yeah. So you didn't get biz opt into the industry. You actually got dating coached into the industry.
Yeah, like that's actually the totally weird part. Like I didn't, yeah, like I was dating coach into the industry, and when I got in the industry, I didn't get in like under the common biz up hype. You know, when you actually mention it, I'm actually only realizing it now. Like, I didn't get in under the common biz up hype of like fire your boss and stuff.
Hmm.
I just wandered into this and I found it so interesting that I literally put my life on pause for half a year as I learned coffee. Like, no friends, no going out, nothing. I was just stuck in my room, no social interactions. I was binging the Grey Hobbit letter, like applying to jobs on Fiverr and literally like and reading Bob Bly's book, The Copywriter's Handbook, for 9 months, just writing sales letters for anything I could find. A friend of mine made music, and I was like, dude, let me write a sales letter for you for your music. My big brother was selling his car, and I was like, man, let me write a sales letter for your car.
I love it. It's a funny thing because at that point, do people around you start thinking, what is this weird crap that Jay's doing? Because, like, for example, I mean, you're in Zimbabwe, but like, if you live in Nigeria, like, there's a lot of people doing copywriting and marketing in Nigeria. It's well established there, but I don't think I know anybody else from Zimbabwe who's active as a marketer out there.
Yeah, that's actually the weird thing. Like Nigeria, and I'd say much of Western Africa is way more developed and way more established when it comes to like copywriting and digital marketing as a whole. Like I can safely say like like lots of Nigerian cooperators, they actually have like better opportunities in their region
Hmm.
as compared to what I have in my own region. And this actually led to like the big differences between how Nigerian cooperators get into the game and how I get into the game. Cause
Hmm.
like many Nigerian cooperators actually get themselves quite established and skilled in their own market. And now they want to branch out and start serving the global market,
Hmm.
right? And like this is where this is where we'd start seeing them in groups and stuff, and where they'd start like appearing in groups and they'd integrate into the community. For me, it was completely different. Like for me, I actually started with the global market. And I was working with the global market for a long time before I even knew that Africa even had a digital marketing and cooperating scene.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I essentially have the exact same problems and challenges integrating into the African scene that Nigerian and Western African corporators have integrating into the global scene. Like it's a reverse problem. I have no idea how to network around here or how to work a room around here. And like I consider that a small inside joke with some buds I have.
You know, I think for people in Nigeria, part of the reason might be, well, A, it's a very large economy, like there's 200 million people there. But B,
Hmm.
also they have very like long-standing trade links, with the to some extent with the US, but especially with Britain. So like the banking and payment processing side of things is a little bit more established there. And I think that's why what this industry comes down to. If you can get merchant processing, you're in business. If you can't, you're kind of pretty much done. Can't do anything.
Yep, very true. In fact, I can actually admit that the first year and a half of my copywriting journey was spent not looking for clients, but trying to find a way to get paid.
Hmm.
Like you can name the website, I've tried it, and I've tried all of them. It's literally by chance that I came across Payoneer one day when I was dressing up to go to my uncle's wedding, and they're like, "Hey, we can help you accept payments." And at that point, I was so used to being rejected. I was like, "Whoop, I have 5 minutes before I have to go. Let me just sign up for this anyway, and sign up for this and wait for them to turn me down."
Hmm.
Right. So I went in, I signed up, and they're like, "Oh, your account's created." And I'm like, "Wow, that actually worked." And then 3 weeks later, the debit card showed up, and I was like, "Wow, so I can get paid by clients now?" And but I was still skeptical about whether or not the card would actually work. Cause like you expect everything to go, you expect anything to go wrong. But when the card worked, that's the moment I realized, like, okay, now I can actually get paid. And back then, Payoneer was really the only option. And then, and and then like from then, that was 2014 up to last year, I was actually working on getting like like a proper merchant account to sell digital products. That's actually something I was looking into doing as well.
Hmm.
Because many of these merchants, they will not work for you if you work with you if you're from like what do they call it, the global south, the third world countries, especially mine. Like my country is sanctioned, and on some lists it shares the room with North Korea. Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Jay
like
Jong Un.
yeah, so I actually came to realize that like the big obstacle keeping me from like getting a merchant account is my nationality. So I just had to separate my business from myself. And that's why I used this British service to just file a company in the UK and get a Stripe account.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge challenge. I have a former client who's in Pakistan, and he started his business like selling in the local market because it was he was selling into a very good, like the local middle class who have disposable income, but are still struggling to keep up with rising living costs. He was selling this up to them, and he started his business by getting people to, on his sales page, the instructions were, if you want to buy my product, you have to go to the bank, you got to deposit money in this account, you got to screenshot the deposit and send it to me on WhatsApp, or you have to text me your phone number and my guys will call you to confirm the payment. And he actually had two people working full time with him, just confirming payments, because it was the only way he could get business done. But eventually, after enough period of time to elapsed, he built up some money in his bank account. The local bank did give him merchant processing. But even then, it's a struggle because people don't have debit cards to pay with, a lot of them.
Yep. Yep, that's actually one of the reasons why like I never really broke into like the Zimbabwean digital marketing space, because
Mhm.
most people don't, because the payment infrastructures needed to pull that off aren't exactly available here in the capacity that I need.
Yes.
So yeah, so it would be a giant hassle trying to run like any kind of business of that capacity, because I'd need a full team just to verify and confirm payments. Like yeah, there are digital money payments. Like most payments here in Zimbabwe are digital, and I can't even jump into the mess that is our currency system. But all I can say is like yeah, digital money is there, but yeah, it'll be a full-time job just keeping track of who's paying and who's not.
Is there in your local market some form of like the kind of more old school like seminar selling, like that sort of direct response where people sell things from the stage, or there are success conventions or those kinds of things that take place in fancy hotels?
Not to my knowledge. I have seen a handful of seminars
Hmm.
or something that resembles seminars, but selling from the stage, I really haven't seen anything of the sort. And also the kind of prices that you'd need that you'd be able to demand while selling from the stage is also very limited as well.
So for you
And
coming up, you get started, and did you get mentored along the way? Did somebody like take an interest and actually help you to develop, or has it been mostly self-directed?
it's been mostly self-directed. And in fact, like right now, my next goal is actually to get mentoring to help mend some of my bigger weak spots. Though I'd say for the most part, it's been self-directed.
Hmm. And because of like people I know, you're somebody who is like extremely knowledgeable at a like level of promotions and campaigns and different things that are running in the industry. Like every time I talk to you, I always hear like stuff like, you talked about Onyx Singol's campaign from 10 or 12 years ago. And I know that years later you actually did you work with Onyx Singol for a while?
Oh yeah, I did. I was actually one of his coaches in his programs. I coached for two of his programs and two of his copy camps as one of his copywriting coaches.
Okay. And but like just you always seem to have kind of very deep knowledge about like what's been running over the years, what campaigns are out there, who's doing what offers are out in the market, and what's doing well right now. And like that's something that I think sets you apart from a lot of people, including myself, who often have a kind of limited scope of what they know about what's going on right this minute.
Yeah, you know, the weird thing is like I actually thought that was normal in the industry, but I know it's how can I say it? It's weird. Like I know I just enjoy tracking these small minor details because just seeing how things evolve and just seeing how things change, it's a whole game on its own. Like when the new wave of corporate is coming in right now, they're shocked when I tell them how things used to be like 5, 10 years ago. When I just start talking about these old promos, and then I realized that ours is a very poorly documented industry.
And
Like it's
for good reason. People don't want their stuff documented.
precisely, man. Precisely. Like
They know they don't want their stuff stolen, and they don't want scrutiny from regulatory agencies either.
yeah, yeah. Like yeah, so it actually comes as a shock. It actually comes as a shock. Like like very few people actually keep track of some of the cooler stuff they see, or like try to keep track of what's running or what's happening and stuff. And I just got into a habit of like if I see something I like, I just save it. I just save it. If I see an interesting video, I download it. Like I just got into the habit of doing that. Cause what I've come to see is that somewhere in the future, someone is gonna ask either you're gonna need that need to use an ideal structure in that, or someone's gonna need it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just got into the habit of like just having Chrome extensions that can save any video on a web page, or having a screen recorder going. So the moment I stop, like for example, the new wave of like tripwire funnels, or the new funnels running these days, I just go, I save the front end, and then I get into the back end, and I try to force the VSL to download. If I can't, I just put a screen record and I just record the entire VSL, upsell VSL in full screen, and I save this page, and I do that for the downsell as well. And I'm like, yeah, like some of this documentation, lots of people don't do it, but it's worth just keeping it. I mean, at first it seemed like for posterity, but it's also super helpful just knowing like, okay, what's been working, what hasn't.
Mm-hmm. You, Jay, also are somebody who is like, known for having some pretty outrageous and polarizing opinions at times. And you've put a lot of stuff out there over the years that, while I think very funny and has gotten you a lot of attention, has also maybe made Facebook like your enemy at times.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I was literally shadow banned through the entirety of 2023.
Yes. I was
Oh,
thinking I don't see your stuff as much anymore. And I know you're still like you're still putting out content regularly, but it doesn't show up in my feed the way it used to. Like
yeah.
has that been because of just being so outspoken, or just saying a lot of outrageous and controversial things?
I think what happened is like you used to see my stuff, right? And the weird thing is I don't see your stuff either. Like
Mm-hmm.
what happened is I made a post, right? And this post got approved. It got onto Facebook. It was a meme,
Mm-hmm.
and it was good. And then 1 month later, Facebook retroactively banned me for that post for 30 days. They were like, yo, 30 days ago, you put this picture. We don't want that. So we're banning you for 30 days. And like during that 30-day ban, I literally couldn't post or comment or do anything on Facebook. I could just talk with people in the DMs, right? And then after that ban, I realized like my reach was down. Like
Mm-hmm.
my reach was completely dead. And then I realized like, oh, I'm in the dreaded shadow ban zone. And because I switched my account to a professional profile, I could see the actual numbers. Like my posts were barely hitting like 50 impressions each. So during that time, I couldn't really rely on Facebook much to get work, but I still kept posting because a very small subgroup of people could see it, almost like a test group, to see like if someone would report me. And during that time, I gathered a bunch of very interesting insights about how your account works when you're shadow banned.
Tell me more.
Yeah, like for one thing, when you're shadow banned, between 50 to 100 people see your stuff, but what tends to happen is that you can make a post now, and to you it looks like it's been posted, but it does not appear on anyone's feeds for between 6 to 12 hours. Like no one sees your content for 6 to 12 hours, and only a very small handful will. And also, Facebook is also way more aggressive about pushing your content when you're shadow banned. So, like, if the initial small test group of people see your content don't react to it, no one else sees it. Like, I've had a small handful of posts like go viral or get tons of engagement when I was shadow banned, but that's only because the first few people who saw that content um reacted to it and commented to it. Then another thing I found is that Facebook has been pushing video lately, so stories don't get shadow banned in the same capacity that the that posts on the feed get. So starting a habit of just posting in the stories and just training your audience to check your stories out is actually a very good backup measure in the event that you get shadow banned. So just making like short form video content. And what I've seen is like when I was shadow banned, reach to my reels and short form video, it wasn't all that different. There wasn't a big difference. But just to like, in fact, just to highlight like how big the difference was in terms of the stats from when I was shadow banned and when I wasn't. Like my shadow ban ended in the last 5 days of October, and it was in gradual stages, right? Like one day, my average reach went from about 3,000 to 6,000. Like it doubled my reach. And then over the last 5 or 6 months or so, my reach has gone from your let me just quickly check my stats here. My reach has gone from 3,000 shadow band at the end of October to 13,000 right now.
Okay,
And
so
a
it's
yeah,
recovered.
it's recovered, yeah. But I think for some of my followers, their algos just don't show them my content anymore completely. And from what I've seen, when you're shadow banned, people literally cannot force Facebook to like put your content on top. Like I actually had someone try to force my content to come first, and Facebook wouldn't do that.
How did that affect your business during the time that was ongoing?
Um, yeah, there was a it did affect the business quite a bit, but at the time I was also focusing more on just reaching out to people in the DMs. So the impact was there, but it wasn't like all that severe, but it definitely was there. Oh, and another thing too, if you run a Facebook group and you get shadow banned, your group goes with you. And in some cases, people literally can't find your group even if they search for it by name.
You talking about all this stuff has reminded me how much I've actually neglected social media in recent months. Like I used to be super active, have a couple of groups going on, and be posting all the time. And now I post maybe once a week these days. I just got a couple of things that have kept me really busy, and I've
Mhm.
done the typical thing of like not really, keeping the pipeline full, which I know I should. But I think I just kind of got tired of it, and I know you can't get tired. You have to constantly pump out content to stay relevant. It's just how it
Uh,
is.
yeah, very true, very true. Like I actually came to find like the only way for me not to get burnt out by social media, honestly speaking, is I don't consume social media nearly as much as people think. Like I barely scroll. I just go in, dump a post, check my notifications, and then go out. I really doom scroll on Facebook and Instagram. Like rarely. The only time I'm doom scrolling on Instagram is when I'm checking out like digital art. Because I'm an artist myself. I actually
You're talking
my
about hentai here, Jay.
dude, yeah, no, that's the weird thing. Not either. Like, but it's like anime art, and like also real people art. I actually had to train my algo to not show me AI generated like art. Like I want like proper artwork painted by a human.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's literally the kind of stuff that keeps me on social media. But like actually browsing and going around it, I don't do it like I don't really do it like all that much.
Gotcha. I found it too quite difficult to separate the two, and that when I was producing content a lot, I would find myself spending a lot of time, just like too much time on social media. And then I decided I didn't want to spend so much time on social media. So I took it off my devices. I have it on my desktop, limited access, and I don't use it nearly as much. But as a result, I don't find myself those opportunities to just quickly create something don't crop up the same, because I've always found that the immediacy of something you've just thought of, when if you write it down fast, seems to have much better impact than trying to schedule stuff ahead of time. Maybe, some people have the skill to do that. For me, I've
Mhm.
always found the immediacy seems to transmit the feeling much better. I know there are some people who are very strategic and schedule out long sequences of things, but for me, this never worked, and I've just found myself using it more than I wanted to.
Yep. I've actually found like for me, I'd actually schedule my content, but the problem is the UI for scheduling content on Facebook is so terrible that it's not worth it for me.
Mhm.
It's not worth it. Yeah, because like for me, my general strategy on Facebook is I think out loud. Okay,
You share
like
your intrusive thoughts with the world.
basically, like you'll be forgiven for thinking that I troll on Facebook as a marketing strategy, but the honest truth is, I've been an internet troll before. I was a troll before I was a copywriter. Like, like for lots of people, memes are something new, but I've been memeing since 2006, right? Since I was in high school, before Facebook even had an IPO. So like becoming a copywriter simply added the copy element to my regular flow of like troll content. So, and also another thing you said about removing social media from your devices, like I literally have no social media notifications on my devices. Like Facebook Messenger, Instagram, TikTok, all of them are permanently muted. I get absolutely no notifications at all. Uh, the only notifications I get are from WhatsApp, and that's because that's how the family can reach me. And after 8:30 in the evening until 8:30 in the morning, the only notifications I get on my phone are from my brothers and my wife and my mom.
Nice.
Everyone else, it's on do not disturb. And I actually tell people like I do not take phone calls after 8:30 in the evening. And but if you call twice, I'll answer, but it better be an emergency. If someone's not at the risk of dying, if someone's not dying, don't call me.
Our friendship is over permanently.
Basically.
You are mostly active and have been, I think, in BizOp. Is that correct?
Yeah, you could say in BizOp, but as in like the niches are right for.
Yes.
Oh, it's actually personal development.
Okay. Do you want
Yeah.
to talk a little bit about why you chose that and where it's taken you?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I like the personal development space so much is because I kind of went through a similar journey myself, with the whole like men's dating thing. Cause the weird thing is like when you hear like pickup artistry and men's dating, the first immediate thought that comes to mind is like, oh, these are just people talking about how to get laid and stuff. But the honest truth is a considerable portion of the content in those emails and stuff, and the content these guys made was literally just about how to be a better man, how to hold yourself accountable, take care of your health, like become a leader, become something a family can look up to, right? And just the idea of like setting your own destiny and pursuing it and stuff, and like and so I really resonated with that stuff, and I came to find like similar messaging is reflected in many different types of similar messaging is reflected in many different types of personal development.
Mhm.
So I came to find like many of these personal development, like personal development for the most part is really just me like just sharing my personal philosophy. Because a lot of the stuff is generally universal.
Yeah. I mean, they have to get you, they have to hook you. They got to get you in the door with the one weird trick. But in the reality, there's a pretty small number of basic actions that lead to successful outcomes in most parts of life.
Yep, that's basically it. And so, but I have written for other different markets, and I'm constantly looking out for different for like markets that I enjoy. Like, yeah, I have written in BizOp, but I wouldn't exactly call that my super forte, but I can write in it. Lately, I have been doing some work in the supplement space, and I'm finding myself enjoying it way more than I thought I would. There's a whole different challenge in writing for supplements, mainly because lots of people don't know this, even though I try to remind them. But I have a diploma in agriculture. Like
Yes.
yeah, I'm trained as a farmer, and part of my qualifications is that I did biology, genetics, and anatomy, and so the studies and research that go into medicine and supplements and stuff, that stuff makes so much sense to me. Like the most obscure studies talking about these weird genes and stuff like hormones, and I read that stuff, it's plain English to me, and I'm like, oh, so I just have to dumb this stuff down for a fifth grader to understand and slap that into a sales letter or email.
I tried.
So
I tried the supplements and I found the same thing that it was extremely complex. I didn't have the education to be able to write for that market.
yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. In fact, frankly, if someone came to me asking if they should write for supplements, I would not recommend it. I mean, it's fun, but if they don't have the curiosity to like look through medical journals and like go through a ton of research and try to make sure that the research is the kind of stuff the FTC or whatever health board in whatever country they're selling and will approve, then yeah, go for it. Because the kind of compliance in supplements, it's a whole different story.
Mm. I mean, what I've seen with people I know in supplements is that, it's they say the supplements is very well paid. It's very well paid for people who are good at it, and it's well paid for a reason. It's a lot more challenging to actually write well in that space than any other because of the fact that A, it's heavily regulated. So there's a lot of things you just can't say.
Mm-hmm.
And B, that you're up against an extremely well-informed field of competition. And to be able to stand out from the crowd, you need to have something that's credible and also compelling. And it's hard to hit both both goals at the same time.
Precisely, precisely. But yeah, I'm actually looking into getting more into into supplements and trying to see like which supplement niches, however that's pronounced, which supplement markets I'm more interested in. But it is definitely something I want to get into.
At this point in your career, do you still rely on outreach and social media as a like primary client getting channel, or do you find that it's become more referral based?
I'd say more outreach on social media. In fact, I actually need to work on getting that more consistent and really dialing in my process because like I'm super introverted and that's my big weakness sauce. So sometimes I tend to suck and I tend to get nervous when I'm reaching out to people because I feel like I'm disturbing them, even though I've never had someone say like, "Hey, you're bothering me." So I know I just try to be like super considerate of people's times at times. So like yeah, yeah, the idea of reaching out to people, it makes me anxious.
But I mean, with the nature of what our industry is like interruption is basically like interrupting people's days with stuff they never asked for or ever or actually wanted like 3 seconds before. It's just kind of what we do for a living, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. So I actually came to find like, well, the best way to make outreach work is to have fun doing it. I mean, I send someone a friend request, they accept, and then I send them a video, like greeting them on the video, and then afterwards I make fun of the fact that if someone reaches out to you on Facebook, it's for a crypto scheme. And I actually point that out. I'm like, hey, whoa, hey, thanks for accepting my friend request. Now I believe this is the part where one of us pitches crypto to the other. Who goes first? Oh, that always gets a laugh.
And you last year recently kind of went from being single guy to getting married. Was that about a year ago now or 2 years? 2 years?
I, it was 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah, wait a minute. That was 2022. So last year was 2023. That makes it 2024. Jesus, I've been married for almost 2 years now. You know, like I the time just passes, man. I literally can't tell it's been 2 years. It feels like it's just been 1 year.
Yeah, I think it has been too. What happened when you got married? Because I mean, what you do, what we do is kind of strange. Like, I mean, when I married my wife, I was in construction, so family got it. Okay, it's like it's pretty standard business. But like, how did that go? Like the whole trying to explain what you do to people in that situation with in-laws and around the time of getting married, even to your spouse.
Oh, well, the explanation is simple. I'm a marketing consultant.
Oh yeah, that's what I use as well.
Like that's basically it. I'm a marketing consultant. But for like close friends who ask, I just say I write junk mail.
But does that even translate? Because I don't know. Do you have junk mail in your local market?
Well, that's the weird thing. We don't. Junk
Okay.
mail, junk mail is such a foreign concept here that it was that I didn't even realize that Americans and I don't know, maybe people in the UK, maybe I don't know. Like I didn't even know like people in those countries out there even get sales letters in their mail up to like 2016, 2017. I didn't know how big of a thing that was.
I think
Because
it's
no
mostly
one,
US.
yeah, it's mostly US because no one actually sends physical mail here.
Yes. I
It's
mean,
yeah, it's
limited
to the
Ireland
point.
too.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's the point where the house I'm staying doesn't even have a letterbox. Never needed one.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that the US it's still like a huge thing, direct mail, where it's almost nothing in Ireland. I know in the UK there's a bit of it, but like America, it's still a real thing. Like there's still real big publishers and real big promotions that operate by direct mail.
Wouldn't be surprised if there's I wouldn't be surprised if there's someone among the titans of direct response there who's lobbying some politician to be like, hey, look, just let us send our junk mail. Here's a thick envelope. Just keep quiet.
I think in the US it has something to do with the fact that um like their political like there's a lot of their political marketing machines over there. A lot of that still relies on direct mail to get to people, to get the message out to people. Like it's still a
Yep,
huge deal. And
yep,
there's still an industry and infrastructure around supporting this.
yep. And if it actually comes as a shock to me that politicians would actually use direct mail to like promote them. So that I know it's a foreign concept to me, but at the same time, I'm not in America, so I can't really comment on it.
Mm-hmm. With what you do nowadays, are you mostly working on like the sort of like writing sales letters, email, advertising, or more like production of stuff like VSLs and more video-based content?
Oh, it's mostly email. I've been working mostly on email lately,
Mm-hmm.
but I have done a handful of VSLs. But my specialty is email.
So would you like to talk a little bit more about that and about sort of how you approach your work strategically?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. You know, like my approach to email is basically thinking like, okay, people have an internal conversation in their heads. So like when I'm planning an email promo or planning an email strategy, we should just work around the strategy, around that internal conversation, where like it's kind of like it's kind of like you walk into a shop, you see a suit you like, but you don't buy the suit the first time around. You see the suit, you don't buy it, and it's an expensive suit. You take a look at it, you take some pictures with your phone, and then you get out. And then you spend the next few days Googling the suit, trying to find the history about the suit, trying to see like which other celebrities or politicians wear the suit and start trying to figure out like what doors can that suit open and like which Rolexes does the suit work with. And then you try to figure out like, okay, who made this suit? Like how many stitches does it have? What material does it have? Does the strap have a warranty? And you try looking that stuff up, or it's in the back of your mind, right? So that's the internal mental conversation. So now if the shop was smart, what they do is they'd be like, hey, can we have your details? Maybe we can reach out to you later. Then maybe you can be like, yeah, sure. And then the next day, and then over the next few days, they're like, hey, so about that suit you're looking at, it's called the XYZ. It's made by XYZ. And then the next day they're like, oh, so here's some more stuff about that suit, right? It uses this special material. The the cotton used to grow it is like tended by Swiss orphans in an illegal sweatshop between the border of Switzerland and France, which doesn't exist. And like and like once and it uses a special ancient lost weaving technique that only three maidens know, and because that there's only five, we only produce like five copies of this suit per year, and only 15 exist so far. And then the next day, like, hey, so about this suit here, right? This particular suit was made by this particular tailor, and he's been working since 1945. His first job was sewing a World War II soldier's uniform. And from there, he's been working, and the guy is old, but his experience and stuff. And what this follow-up is doing is it's essentially hijacking the conversation in the customer's head and answering those lingering questions that they've had. It's entertaining, but it's essentially answering the questions in the customer's head. And it's actually and like it's actually and it's guiding the customer towards making the buying decision without being salesy. Like it's just filling the gaps of information and knowledge in the customer's head. And uh
I was going to
yeah,
ask is
yeah.
where do you figure out where the gaps are? Because it's hard to know.
Oh yeah, well the gaps are in many cases will be like going through market research and trying to figure out like, okay, what are the common questions customers ask maybe from the help desk or during sales calls? Like for example, if I'm writing an email sequence for a for something that is closed on a sales call, for example, I could ask like, okay, what are the common questions you or a sales team get asked? Then we just compile those questions and then we structure the email sequence to answer the questions and to provide context. And then if possible, we try to see like which questions can be answered preemptively. Like for example, we try to see like, okay, which questions can we answer before the sales call, which would make it easier for the person doing the sales call to get a close. And what I came to find is that like the general email sequence for actually getting this working is for the most part fairly predictable. In fact, I have it on my whiteboard right now, right behind me. Let's see. First off, uh,
Well, I did
let me.
want to talk about this because are you using that for your own purpose of putting your work together, or are you using this for teaching people?
Oh no, I'm more of a visual thinker. I like having my ideas drawn out in front of me so that I can think.
Let's walk us through then.
Yeah, okay, let's see. Okay, so what you see there, this is essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6-day email sequence, basically.
Mhm.
Like this might be for a launch, for example, right? Where day one, the intro, you essentially introduce the offer. You're like, hey, I'm selling this rare watch, right? And then day two, the mechanism. And you can be like, so this is what makes this watch so rare. It uses a special winding mechanism, which harnesses your body's natural kinetic energy to keep moving. So the watch stays alive as long as you're alive. And then next up is proof, and we can be like, okay, here's some stats. This celebrity wears it. The guy who made it has made these watches before. The watch uses these materials, so you know it's durable. Then the next one is then the next one here is reason. Like here now you just start putting like logical justifications for the purchase. And a good way to think of reason would be like, okay, if my customer bought this thing and he had to justify the purchase to his wife or his best friends, what would he have to say? Basically, like if his wife was like, honey, you just spent $15,000 on a watch. Why? And then from there, and the answer to that is the email. The guy can be like, well, honey, well, you see, there's only 3 of these watches made, and these watches use a very rare mineral that takes 15 years to smelt and manufacture. So this watch isn't a watch. It's more of an investment because it's only gonna become rarer with time. And maybe 15 years from now, we can sell it off for a higher price and stuff. And so that gives a super logical reason to like justify the sale.
This reminds me of
But
my buddy who is a watch guy, and he always claims his watches are investments. Which is,
I
I mean,
mean,
maybe on some level they are, but he uses them, he treats them rough. He's not keeping them like locked in a safe or nothing. So I think he's just, it's just a nice justification for it.
anything is an investment if you love the thing enough. I mean, dude, I'm into video games, and let me tell you, I will buy a rare video game if I think if it's an investment, because oftentimes they are.
Hmm.
Okay, the next one is urgency. Yeah, just give them a valid reason why they have to buy now. And the next one is donkey, which is literally just a gag email I put there. But this one could be like this one could be like add like perhaps an FAQ type email. In fact, the FAQ type email can be split between proof and reason. And this one here, you take many of the common questions and then just answer them. Just answer them and be like, hey, we got a ton of questions we asked, so I'm gonna answer them in this email. And another cool thing you can do is quite literally, if you want to do 2 emails per day, you could send two emails for the intro, 2 for the mechanism, 2 proof emails, 2 emails with the reasons, 2 urgency emails, and maybe 2 Q&A emails. And if you want to stretch the promo even further, you could do 2 emails for each, but 1 email per day. And what I found is like this has the hallmarks of a basic email sequence you can retrofit to serve other purposes. For example, an abandoned cart sequence, for example, could literally be like, okay, you tell them, hey, you forgot this, whatever in your cart. Hey, so then mechanism. So about the thing we're holding for in your cart, here's what makes it special and stuff. And you can go get it here, and then proof. Yo, so just a word, well, we're still holding on to this for you, but we just want to talk a bit about what makes it so awesome. It was made by this person. Here are the testimonials, the people who used it and stuff. And you can go finish your order. Here it's there for a few days. Then a reason. Okay, so here's why this thing is so awesome. We're still holding on to it for you, but here's why it's so awesome. Then just give them the reason, right? And then then maybe slip in a Q&A as well. Be like, hey, so here's some common questions we have from potential customers who want to buy from us. And then at the end of the email can be like, okay, so yeah, and so we're still holding on to it for you. If you feel like we answered your questions, you can go finish your order. We're holding on to it for you. And then urgency, can tell them, whoop, we can't hold on to it any longer. Can't finish your order.
Nice. Like it. And do you find yourself like having these go-to frameworks that you're running same types of sequences over and over again with just different offers and different copy?
Yep, I actually came to find like when you productize the copy in that sense and like create these internal SOPs, it really simplifies things, especially if it's proven. Because in all honesty, when you look at the ancient masters or the greats we look up to, they basically templatized how they write their copy.
Yeah, Colin Terrio talks a lot about this as well. And I know that's something you've always done is like actually have go-to, you've got go-to templates for a lot of things in your back pocket, right?
Yep. In fact, one thing I recommend is to download this program called FreeMind. It's basically a free it's a free mind mapping software. And then any framework or any framework or thing or any copy framework or any email sequence that you come up with or just that you use that seems to work consistently, just document it.
Mm-hmm.
Like document everything you do, and eventually you get to the point where when you're working, you're just gonna be referring to your own notes. And it's an extremely weird moment where instead of like reaching out for a course that you paid for it, when you get a new client, you're just checking out your own notes and asking yourself like, okay, what would I normally do in this situation?
With the fact that you've created all this like personal IP of templates and frameworks, do you find now that with using AI, you're able to actually put this stuff to work inside of ChatGPT or inside of other those AI writing type programs?
Yeah, that's actually the funny part. Like, I consider myself a huge tech geek. I used to code and I suck with AI.
Mm-hmm.
But but at the same time, I try to leverage it to the capacity of my limited AI wrangling skill is. I actually took one of my I took my market research framework. I call it the sinful research framework. I took that and I just like made a giga prompt. Then I just chuck it to Chat GPT where I'm like, okay, let's make this avatar. The name is so and so. These are the details. And then I just ask like a list of questions, a list of very specific questions, and Chat GPT just like gives me like some fairly educated guesses about the prospect. Like as you know, Chat GPT isn't like the most accurate thing. AI isn't the most accurate thing. But in any form of market research, some degree of heuristics or just common sense kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
And so what ChatGPT does is it helps fast track the common sense part. For example, maybe I'm trying to research maybe like how a specific problem might affect a customer's love life, and then I just ask ChatGPT like, okay, based on our avatar, how would they describe how the problem affects their love life, and can you write a detailed 200 word account, a 200 word account of like the family life. I feel like, can you write a detailed 200 word account of like how the customer would experience this problem happening to them, right? And I wouldn't exactly consider that like ready to use in copy per se, but it does point the direction for me if I want to do like additional research.
You mentioned something called the sinful research. And I think I've heard you talk about this before. So why don't you
Yeah.
explain that?
Well, yeah, sure. Man, the sinful research framework is literally something I just came up with because there was a time where I had to write like seven different emails. I know I had to write like five new emails a week and five unique emails a week. And so I just came up with like a market research framework that just helps me like quickly research my prospects without having to go through a giant checklist. And let's see. And so I coded okay, let me open it. Okay,
I
let me
seem
open
to
it
remember this was something to do with the seven deadly sins from the Bible. Is that right?
precisely. The
Yes.
seven deadly sins. Okay, I now have my mind map open here. Like the mind map where I keep all this information, it literally has at minimum 7 different courses worth of like copywriting material that I just put in there. I organized everything. I organized everything to resemble courses to make it easier. Okay, so the sinful research method essentially follows the 7 deadly sins, right? Starting with wrath. And with wrath, you just ask like, okay, what makes your customers angry? Who do they hate? What pisses them off in the morning? What about the competitors' products makes them furious? How does the problem in the product manifest itself? Especially in ways that piss them off on a daily basis. And the more detailed the description of these experiences, the better, right? And then next up with pride. And probably just ask yourself, like, okay, what are they proud of that's related to the problem? How does the problem affect their pride? Who do they seek admiration and respect from? And how does the problem affect their insecurities? Then next up is envy. Uh, who do your customers envy and why? What is it they envy from them? How would they feel if they had what they envy from the others? Who they want envying them, and how do they fantasize their neighbors and peers envying them? Then next up is lust. Does the problem affect their sex appeal? If so, how? Does the problem affect how the opposite sex or their partners see them? Then we have the other lust, which is bloodlust. Who do they want revenge on, or who do they desperately want to prove wrong? Who didn't believe in them when they were getting started? Basically, who do they want to prove wrong and who screwed them over in the past and who hurt them? Then the next one is gluttony. What do they desire above all reason, even secretly? And what's the one thing related to their problem that they wish they had? And what is the one outcome that they absolutely desire? Then next up is sloth. What's stopping them from buying? What makes a prospect stop in their tracks on the order form before making an order? What questions do they want answered before they can get off their asses and make the purchase? What problems do they have with the product keeping them from taking action? And what problems do they have with themselves that keep them from taking action? And this one needs deep research because most people won't admit this. But this one here, the problem they have with themselves is like, in many cases, it's not just the product you have to sell, but you have to sell the customer to themselves, right? Like, for example, if you're selling a biz op product to a guy who's never really achieved anything, but who's never achieved anything, you could tell him that the product 100% guarantees success. But if he doesn't believe that he can do it, he isn't gonna buy it. So you have to sell the idea that he is enough, he can do it. You have to sell that to him along with selling the product to him as well. Because in many cases, people just stand in their own way. And then the next one is greed. Greed is similar to gluttony, except that with greed, now we're essentially removing all moral stop signs. Like, what do they want more than anything else that they'd be willing to break the law to get? How would it make them feel to have it? Like, what are they willing above all reason and cost to solve? And why is this the case? It's kind of like that movie John Q, you know it, like starring Denzel Washington, where
I've heard of it,
his son,
haven't seen this.
well, the general plot of John Q is that this dude Denzel Washington, his son has a heart problem, and like he doesn't have the money to get treatment because he just got fired, and he's been trying to get a job, but he's so experienced that every place he goes to interview for tells him that he's overqualified. So now his son's dying from a heart condition. So he walks into a hospital and he holds the hospital hostage with a gun, and then and he essentially tells the medical staff to perform surgery on his son.
It's a good storyline. It's a kind of spin on the whole kind of like don't fuck with the working man, like that
Yep.
kind of concept.
Yep. And then the next one, the bonus one out of all these is the fates. All sins work across three timelines. What was, what is, and what would be. So what was the past? Like try to think of each of these sins in the context of the past. Like how have the customers experienced each of these in the past? And then the present. How are they experiencing each of these sins right now? And then the future. The future now is essentially more like trying to find like the long-term concern that the relevant sin presents. So this one is more like trying to tap into the existential dread that each sin brings. Like, for example, if we take a look at last, right? What was in the past, we take a look at a man and can be like, whoa, okay, so him being broke like kept him from being able to get dates. He grew up in a broke family, so all the girls were snatched up by the rich boys at school and stuff, and they felt ashamed for it. And then what is right now, he feels like his wife wishes she had a richer husband because she's always on rich TikTok and rich Instagram.
Mhm.
And what will be, the guy is afraid like some rich dude is just gonna show up in a Lamborghini to his wife and take her from him and stuff. And it's a constant fear in his head.
Love it. It's such deep, like psychological insight. I love the simplicity of this idea because the Bible has already got these list of sins, and I'm sure they exist in other cultures too. It's tapped into thousands or maybe millions of years of the knowns of human behavior, the little venalities that basically trouble every single one of us. And
Yeah,
it's a great starting point because marketing is selling to people's venalities usually. If they don't, if they're the stuff that's outside of the realm of sin, it's almost not stuff that you can sell to a lot of the time. It's stuff that's more in the spiritual realm. We're selling to people's base lizard-like desires.
yeah, that's actually a very good point. And like the funny part is like the reason why this system is so simple is because I needed something that could let me sufficiently research a market enough for me to write damn good emails for it within 3 hours. Like I just need something where like, okay, I'm not gonna do like super guru level research, but I need enough ideas for me to write a bunch of emails. So I had literally just closed my eyes and poke the page, and then the sin that I point on, I do some research on it, and then I fill in the details, and then I write an email based on that.
I love it. Jay, thank you very much for coming to talk to me today. If people want to
Yeah,
find you, where's the best place to do it? I'll put your details in the video description.
yeah, the best place to do it would be to go to fb.com/MakoniJ. That takes you directly to my Facebook profile.
Okay.
And then you can get on my email list at sub.jmakoni.com.
Yeah, you got to send me those links in Messenger after the call, and I'll put them in for people. Any final thoughts before I hit stop and we wrap this up?
I'd say none at all, really.
Okay.
None at all.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on today. Pleasure always talking to you. And I'm going to stop the recording now. Thanks, Jay.
It was a pleasure.